What's going on, guys? Welcome to Essential Style. Today we're going to be talking about, should you get an expensive watch or should you get something a bit cheaper? So this is the SKX009 and I bought it for $200 a couple of years ago. Right now it's going for about $300. The new Seiko 5 that's replacing this model goes for about $250 to $300. This is the Timex Weekender chronograph. This one, $60 when all is said and done off Amazon. So let's talk about the differences between this, and if you want to get into watches, should you go for something like this and spend over $200, or should you just start out with something that's a little bit cheaper? We're going to talk about it. So here are the contenders. We have the SKX009 dive watch, automatic. It's pretty good. And then here is a $60 Timex chronograph weekender watch. Not too bad, not a bad watch. So what's the difference between these? Well, let's go through this one first. This one, you get 200 meters water resistance. I believe the new one that replaces this model, the Seiko 5, gets 100 meters of water resistance. Still pretty good. You just get a really nice, solid feeling watch. Automatic movement, so you don't have to worry about the battery running out on you. You just got to make sure you go like that a few times, get that rotor spinning in the back. It's just a overall really nice watch. No scratches on it at all. You can see just a little bit of the hairline scratch up there. And I mentioned in my Seiko video, you could see I got a little scuff right there. Really hard to tell. For the amount of times I've worn this and the amount of times I've just hit this thing into desks and everything like that, it looks flawless. I mean, it looks like it got hit once or twice, just a couple of things, but this thing, I've not been kind to this watch at all. But again, this one, I spent $200 on it, and that was a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. Now, the Seiko SKX009, which is this one in black, and the 007, they're going for over $300. I think I saw them going for like $400 at one point. So kind of crazy, but this one, more of a beginner's watch. What you do get with this one is it lights up, whereas this one doesn't, but it does kind of glow in the dark, which is pretty cool. Can't really see it right there. It does glow in the dark. They call that a lume. This one has a night light on it, so probably a bit easier, because if you're in a dark room for a long time, this one's not really going to have any glow left in the lume. That's what it's called, the lume. But this one is, you're just going to be able to pop it open and good enough. So with this one, what you're getting is battery powered watch, just your basic little weekender watch. Not too bad. It's a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter, and it's just a much nicer price point. It's a little bit easier to wear on the wrist if you're not a really big watch enthusiast. I would recommend this one if you want to start getting into watches, if you don't know if it's for you or not. This one's just going to be a little bit more friendly to wear. You're not going to be really too upset if you end up, scratching it up like crazy. But with that, again, the $60 watch, so there is a scratch right there. Right there, there's a scratch. I got this scratch 1 week after I got this watch. I wasn't that happy about it. I wasn't really upset about it, but I said, wow, you got to be kidding me. 1 week and I got this, and I got a scratch. And I was kind to this watch. I wasn't sure if I was going to keep it, but then I scratched it and I said, well, I guess I got to keep it now, right? It wasn't a big deal. It's nice to have a separate watch. It's nice to have a backup watch, and that's what this is for me. But yeah, I mean, you get what you pay for in this scenario. So for a watch that is nowadays 5 times as much as this watch, again, I've banged this thing, I bruised it, it's flawless. And something about the weight too of the SKX, it wears a little bit nicer on the wrist, at least that's how it is for me. It's definitely heavier, but the weight distribution, it's just nice. It feels nice and solid, whereas this one can feel kind of flimsy. But again, you're saving yourself over $200 by getting this one. And I do think that the chronograph one looks pretty cool. They do make it without the chronograph and just the numbers. I like the chronograph. I mentioned in a couple of my previous videos that I actually wore one of these in white for over a year. I wasn't sure what watch to get. I kind of, I didn't even really consider this one yet. And it just was a good placeholder on my wrist for the time being. I didn't like not wearing a watch. I'm so used to wearing one. I think it's just a great piece of jewelry to wear, especially for guys. This is the actual one that I wore on my wrist. Now you can just tell this one's barely worn. You could just tell, look at all those scratches around the casing, around here. That's just something to be aware of. When you buy the cheaper product, you're not going to see that right away. Because if you put this barely used watch next to this one, if they're both brand new, you're not going to be able to tell the difference. You're going to say that they both tell the time. What's the difference? And true, they do both tell the time, but look at the difference in how they age. And I think this is the same in any product that we go and buy. A lot of times the more expensive one is not going to seem worth it at first. However, the difference is how it's going to age. This one, even when I was wearing it, whoopsies, I always made sure to take it off if I was moving furniture around or if I was doing any type of work. But I always end up leaving my SKX on. The only reason I take it off is if I'm trying to reach my hand into a small space and the watch keeps clipping on it, and then I take it off just so it doesn't get in the way. I don't take it off to protect it. And I think that's something that's overlooked by a lot of times when people say, oh, it's not worth it, just get the cheaper one. They both tell time. Absolutely, they both tell time. The same thing with a pair of shoes or a jacket. A pair of shoes, yes, they're going to look the same, but how is it going to wear? How is it going to age? How it's going to wear, that's a big difference. So again, that's what you get when you pay 5 times the price for a watch. It's just going to age a bit better. It's going to hold its time a bit better. This one, I don't even know if the light still works. The light wasn't working on this one for a long time. But like I said, it's a great starter watch. It's a great spare watch. Just beware. I wouldn't be surprised if you put your hand down. If you knock it into something, it's probably going to shatter because this isn't really as durable as this. I think this is a Hardlex crystal. I'm not sure. I know it's not sapphire. I think the dress watches have sapphire. But this is a Hardlex crystal. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not really 100% on that. But this is just basic class. I wouldn't be surprised if it broke. So in conclusion, that's pretty much what you're getting when you're paying a lot more for essentially the same product that has the same functionality. It's just going to age much better. It's going to feel better. It's going to wear better. And whenever you wear it, you're just going to have an overall better experience. Not that this is bad and not that this, again, I'd still recommend, this is a great watch. It's easy. It's lightweight. You throw it on. It's not a lot of money. It's great. If you want to start wearing jewelry, start wearing functional jewelry, this is a great little watch. And I mean, it still is something that I would recommend. For me, it ends up, it's a backup watch. It's a spare watch. If something ever happened to this watch, if it fell down the drain or I lost it in the ocean somewhere, then, I wouldn't have to be without a watch. I could just throw this on my wrist and I'd be good to go. Just keep that in mind when you guys are watch shopping, and again, it stands for anything. A lot of times it could be that everyone feels like, oh, you're paying for the name for a certain thing. But sometimes you are, sometimes you're not. And you can use your head because there's certain brands and certain things out there that you definitely are paying for the name more than anything else. And, whether it's car companies, t-shirt companies, watch companies, jewelry companies, you name it. But if you go for something, Seiko is not really a big name. It's not as big as some of the other big names in the watch world, especially ones that almost everyone in the world knows about. That's pretty much it. Just wanted to let you guys know. You can get the cheaper watch if you want. I would go with something a little bit better, but that's because I know I like watches. If you're not sure, try it out with the Timex Weekender. If you don't like the chronograph, you can get the one without the chronograph, a little bit simpler, probably a little bit easier to wear in multiple situations. But if you're really looking to get something a bit better, I would step it up and spend a couple $100s on a watch maybe if you really enjoy it. Only if you really enjoy it and you think it's worth it to you. It's going to age better. It's not going to scratch. It's going to keep better time. It's going to just be more comfortable. And yeah, it's just going to be a better situation. So that's it. Thanks so much for stopping by. And as always, see you guys in the next one.